Hey, it's Mike Catherwood.
Hey, it's Drew.
Dr. Drew, the new Mike and Dr. Drew show is great, as all of them are.
Yeah, this one's extra great.
Particularly interesting. Big announcements, plus we talk about eels and butts.
You seriously do.
And hitmen who fall in love.
Yeah.
Chinese fathers are awesome.
Yeah.
Dead weekend at Bernie Bitches.
Yes. Yes.
Quite an interesting show.
And we get serious, too, by the way, towards the end, you know?
That's right, Dr. Drew. There is a serious side to you and I. And you can hear about it all on the Mike and Dr. Drew podcast. Only. Where, Dr. Drew?
PodcastOne.
That's right.
The following program is a PodcastOne.com production.
From Hollywood, California, by way of the Broken Skull Ranch, this is the Steve Austin Show.
Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Now, here's Steve Austin.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's Steve Austin. Happy to be back with you and happy to continue my conversation with old Joey Styles, at Joey Styles on Twitter, the voice of Extreme Championship Wrestling, the man who would do color commentary and play-by-play at the exact same time. It was a blast talking with this young man on the first go-round, and the conversation gets even better on part two. We're going to go into some of the ECW promos, talk about some of the specific talent that was laying it down, go into the tag teams, and get into the whole Extreme Championship Wrestling mindset. And before I go any further, before I bring in Jumpin' Joey Styles for part two, I wanted to address a question that I've seen floating around on YouTube. Recently, I was on YouTube watching an interview conducted by Michael Chiavello with myself. It was called The Voice versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. I watched the interview. It was intense. It was passionate. It was the truth. I went down to the comments section. In some of the comment sections, there was a question which kept coming up, and it says, where's his eyebrows? Does he have eyebrows? Does he shave his eyebrows? I figured I would take this time to address that question. I'm blonde. Well, I'm bald, but I used to be blonde. I actually have eyebrows. You can barely see them, but they're there. I don't bleach them. I don't put makeup on them. I don't wax them. You just can't hardly see them, folks. I got eyebrows. They're just not very thick. One time I was doing a movie shoot, and the makeup person wanted to color my eyebrows in. And when you color my eyebrows in, I look like Mr. Potato Head. So I look strange with eyebrows. That's why I leave them alone. They're blonde. They're almost non-existent, but I prefer to look like I look rather than Mr. Potato Head. Mr. Potato Head beating up bad guys in a movie doesn't sound very fierce to me. Nonetheless, had to address that question. That's the answer. Got them. You can't see them. They're almost clear. With that being said, let's stop wasting time. I want to go back, get into the conversation with at Joey Styles on Twitter, my main man, and the voice behind Extreme Championship Wrestling, coming back with Jumpin' Joey. Hey, folks, sometimes 4 years of college and a degree still won't get you a job in today's world. Check this out. The National Academy of Sports Medicine guarantees you'll land a job within 60 days of earning your personal trainer certification. That's a job within 60 days of becoming CPT certified, guaranteed, or your money back. But you have to visit usatrainer.com today. The fitness industry is booming. There's a huge demand for certified personal trainers, and you can earn a ton of money, like six-figure money. You set your own hours. There's always work, and you're basically getting paid to stay in shape. Hey, who knows? You could even become my personal trainer. Certified personal trainers work with some of the top athletes and A-list celebs from around the world, and they're the reason I'm in the shape I am today. Visit usatrainer.com today and get started with your free 14-day sneak peek of our fast, fun, and easy online program. That's 14 days free towards your CPT certification and a potential six-figure income at usatrainer.com. I said usatrainer.com one more time, usatrainer.com. Oh, that's right. Coming back with part two of Jumpin' Joey Styles. And when I think of Joey Styles and I think of ECW Extreme Championship Wrestling, I think of promos, great promos. Joey, if we're going to talk promos, the first guy I got to bring in is Terry Funk. What are your thoughts on the Funkster?
Well, before we get to Terry, I'm going to give you your due, and I know you're modest and you want me to, but you came up there and you asked Paul, what do I talk about? And Paul said, go ahead and be honest. And you cut some riveting promos because you had been fired while you were injured, and you cut some great promos right into the camera. We didn't tell you you had 1 minute, 1:45. Go. And if you talk for 5 minutes, it's staying in. And you cut some phenomenal promos to the point where, and I said this on WWE Home Video, and I haven't gotten fired yet, so I figure I'm okay, is that the fact that WWE brought you in as the ringmaster and gave you a mouthpiece means that your promos in ECW weren't seen, and they had just watched your phenomenal in-ring work in WCW, because the Stone Cold character is you, just amped up, and you did that in ECW. I mean, you chewed Eric Bischoff a new anus repeatedly, weekly, on TV, and then did some great things in the ring. And I just wanted to give you your due before I go into Terry Funk.
Well, I appreciate that. Let's talk about the Funkster.
Terry Funk. Oh, my God, what a character. I mean,
and that's him. Terry is Terry.
Oh, yeah. You egg-sucking dog. Terry, I can say everything Terry said, you believed it. You either believed that he really wanted to kick your ass, you really believed that he was crazy, you really believe that he was doing this for all the ECW fans. Terry Funk can make you believe anything. And this is just when I met Terry. Terry Funk has had, I would say, 3 careers. His the first career as the very clean-cut, wool tights and boots-wearing NWA World Heavyweight Champion Terry Funk. And then you had the Terry Funk who then, came into WCW and started wearing long tights, and he pile drove Ric Flair through the table, almost broke his neck, and almost started hardcore wrestling. And then you had Terry Funk, who became the hardcore icon in ECW and did his first moonsault at 50. I mean, there have been 3 Terry Funks, but everything, you go back and watch everything he did, from being the clean-cut Terry Funk who was going to out-wrestle you and beat you with that spinning toe hold, to the crazy Terry Funk in Memphis who had the empty arena match and made you believe that he was being blinded by Jerry Lawler and that the whole city of Memphis had a conspiracy against him, to the Terry Funk in ECW who looked into the camera and toned it down and didn't act crazy and said, we're going to do this our way, the ECW way, and really made you believe that he was leading the charge, and he won that ECW World Heavyweight title at Barely Legal for all of us. Terry Funk made you believe everything he was saying.
And he did. And talk about Shane Douglas, because Shane Douglas was laying down what I consider to be some of the best heel promos of the time.
Shane, I don't think, gets enough credit for what he's contributed to the business. And I think that's because either he didn't get enough opportunities to follow up after ECW, or he squandered those opportunities because maybe he was difficult to work with. I'll leave it at that. But Shane would get on that mic, and Shane really felt that he had been held down by Ric Flair, who was the booker or the matchmaker or the boss in WCW. So Shane was now made a main eventer by Paul Heyman, the franchise, and started saying some awful, horrible things about Ric Flair and used profanity like the way an artist would use oils on canvas. The way you use it, at the right time, in the right amounts, in the right places. And then he would turn on the crowd. I'll tell you this, we were in Queens, New York, and it was the weekend that the Giants were playing the Jets. It might have been the same night. It was a preseason game. So we were in Queens, New York at that Madhouse of Extreme, that Elks Lodge, and that crowd was as nasty as the Philly crowd.
Yeah. And
Shane Douglas starts in on New York and how Pittsburgh is better than New York, and just starts crapping on New York. And I'm sitting there interviewing him, and I see a coin come flying from the balcony and hit Shane right between the eyes. And a trickle of blood starts coming down Shane's face. Now, I know that you're a Blazing Saddles fan, so you'll get this reference.
Yeah.
I look at Shane and I go, son, you're on your own. And I powder right underneath the bottom rope. Shane blows past our big monster security guards And it's like that scene from Slapshot where the Hanson brothers go up in the stands because somebody threw keys at them. He's punching out everybody. Like, he goes ballistic. That must have been another lawsuit. But yes, Shane would drive people to that level. Shane could, because he is.
Well, he had that innate ability to get heat, and sometimes with the boys. But I remember working with Shane Douglas when he was teaming with Ricky Steamboat, one of the greatest of all time. And Brian and I were the Hollywood Blondes. And I tell you what, man, there for a time, you always like to get the heat on Steamboat because he sold so good. But then Shane was such a white meat babyface. We started getting the heat on Shane because, man, he really took selling to another level himself. So I always thought Shane's work in the ring, and I mean this as a compliment to him, was better as a babyface, particularly white meat, than his work as a heel. But when he talked, he was a natural grade A heel promo.
Yes, and the truth is that especially now in today's world, being better on the mic, I would argue, is more important than being better in the ring. Can you imagine if Shane Douglas had the ability to wrestle as a heel to match his heel promo skills, or the ability to do babyface promos to match his babyface wrestling skills, how much money he would have made?
It would be interesting. That's one of those what-if situations. But what if we shift our attention to the Sandman?
Oh, God. Ring ability, one of the worst I've ever seen in any promotion. An arm drag that makes Ricky Steamboat roll over in his grave. Ricky's not near being dead yet. Ugly, bowling shoe ugly, as JR would say.
Right.
But what a character. And you go back and you first see Sandman, and the name Sandman came because he had bleach blonde hair, and, you know, I guess he had the idea to put himself in a surfer's outfit, and he brought a surfboard to the ring. Forget it. Until Paul Heyman saw him backstage, and the guy is just hammered and wearing the Zubaz balloon pants and smoking a cigarette, and Paul's like, Todd Gordon, why can't we send him out like that? Nobody had ever thought to send somebody through the ring, smoking a cigarette, drinking a beer, and, of course, with blue-collar fans, as you know,
classic.
It clicked. You know, and when it came to brawling matches, it was great. Could Sandman sell? Yes, he could. His offense was ugly as all hell when he wasn't using the kendo stick.
But the people bought in and believed in that character. And to any of them youngsters out there, man, I mean, it's so, yeah, he was very limited in the ring, let's say that. And I mean that with all due respect. But the people believed in him, and they loved him. So you don't have to be the greatest athlete in the world to reach a high level of success.
No, and I'll tell you another reason that people believed in him, and I'm not going to take credit for this. I was just reading off the facts, and I even, read them off in WWE, and Vince told me, don't say that again, is that the Sandman had been arrested several times for drunken disorderly and ballroom fights, and one time while locked up got put in a hole for punching a prison guard. So there was a bit of legitimacy to the Sandman. I would not want to fight him in a bar fight, because while his wrestling wasn't that good, I'm pretty sure he'd be pretty good with his fists.
Boy, I tell you what, that son of a gun hit me with that kendo stick a couple of times. Mister, I like to lay my stuff in. Sandman damn sure lays his in. That kendo stick, boy, it put a welt over my damn eye. Of course, I wasn't going to sell it or complain. I sold it in the ring, but he lays his stuff in. He protected the business. I had a lot of fun watching him. We got to talk about one and only Tommy Dreamer. He meant a lot to that company.
Tommy is still my best friend in the business. I'm going to tell you a quick joke because you're talking about now.
Oh, give me some joke stories. My fans love this. Go for it, Joey.
Oh, this is the best. So now you have the voice of ECW, Joey Styles, the smartass, the rebel, the uncensored on the mic, Tommy Dreamer, the heart and soul of ECW, the innovator of violence. And what do we do every October? We take our wives and kids pumpkin picking at a local farm. What a difference 20 years makes.
Pumpkin picking, are you kidding me?
I'm not. You kids aren't jack-o'-lanterns. It's Halloween. His daughters are roughly the same age as my son. And you got to go get your pumpkins, and, and there's a farm near my house, and he comes up, and we all take the hayride together with the family. He's going to kill me for this. I'm killing him. And then, but he's fun. I mean, he doesn't take himself seriously. I don't take myself seriously. So, of course, our wives are going to take the picture. I'm like, shouldn't we at least wrap this pumpkin and barbed wire in case it winds up online? I'm like, we're killing our appearances here. You're going to kill your indie bookings. But this is what it's come to. This is what Tommy and I have come to. But Tommy, going back was, my first night in the business was, I guess, June 1992 when I called matches. One of the matches that night was Tommy Dreamer versus the Tasmaniac, who is now Taz. And I've now known them, and I'm still friends with them all these years. Tommy came into the ECW arena with those shiny pants and those Chippendale suspenders and got booed out of the building for being a pretty boy and had to adjust very quickly. And the night he got caned by the Sandman, and it was the "Thank you, sir, may I have another?"
Yep.
That's what made Tommy popular with those fans, that they saw, he was tough and he could take it. And people talk about Mick Foley, who now, just to watch him walk upsets me because I love him. Tommy Dreamer, I don't know how he's walking. He has a torn MCL in his knee. He broke his back. He broke his neck. He has never had surgery for any of it. The day he retires, whenever that is, he'll be like Terry Funk going till he's 70. We'll then just have everything replaced. He'll be bionic. But people don't realize Tommy was getting thrown down flights of steps, getting thrown off balconies. He was one of those guys who bought into it and just sacrificed himself for the sake of getting sympathy, to the point where even now, Tommy is probably the most booked guy on the indies. He works 2 to 4 times every week in addition to having his own wrestling company. So I'm watching a clip of something he did, on the indies 2 weeks ago, because everything winds up on the internet. He takes a tombstone pile driver. Now, Tommy weighs 270, and we like to be nice and say he has a low center of gravity, also known as a fat ass. So it's very hard to give Tommy a tombstone pile driver and not hurt him. So he's wrestling a young kid, and he's always happy to make young kids shine and put them over. And this thing's pretty nasty. And I see he, hurts his neck. So he comes by and visits me at WWE every once in a while because he's got friends here. I think his dentist is in town. And the minute he walks the door, I just yell at him. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, at this point in your career, I'm not saying you don't work hard because you're on the indies, because he always does.
Yeah.
You think a tombstone pile driver when you had a broken neck and a broken back? I mean, Steve, arguably, one of those ended your career because it went wrong. I mean, you kept working, but it cut your career short.
Yeah.
Why?
What was his answer to you?
Oh, he doesn't take anything seriously. I'm fine. I don't need my neck.
So how old is Tommy now?
Tommy's my age. He's 42.
Now, I need to get him on the show. Hey, let's talk about Sabu, because you know what? I came through there, and I've only crossed paths with Sabu a time or two, and I've been around for a pretty good while. But he really had an impact on that crowd, and he could light it up. People really seemed to dig what he was doing.
Another guy who should be rich for everything he did and had an opportunity to be rich because he made it to WWE when ECW was relaunched, but because of some of the personal choices we discussed about 20 minutes ago, that didn't happen. But absolutely, before all the high flyers and the cruiserweights, and Sabu was doing ridiculous things like that triple jump moonsault where he would jump on a chair and then on the top rope and then do a backflip into the ring, or from a chair to the top rope to a somersault dive to the outside, not to mention being willing to also do all those crazy no-rope barbed wire matches. And if you watch his matches with Taz, because that was a big deal, barely legal. That was the first time I ever saw two guys not allowed to touch for almost a year before their match. Taz was an amateur wrestler. Taz has a second-degree black belt in judo.
Yeah.
And Sabu actually got down on the mat and wrestled with him to start out that match. They're exchanging holds and all that. That's not how he made his money, but he could do it. He was very multifaceted, couldn't talk, so he always had a mouthpiece, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's a guy who is suicidal, homicidal, genocidal probably shouldn't be having an intelligent conversation with you.
Was he addicted to pain? It seemed, for me to watch that guy, he had to love pain. I have a high tolerance for pain. It seemed like Sabu loved pain.
I don't know because he's not very talkative. I've never had a conversation with him that lasted more than 60 seconds, whether it was in the original ECW or when he came to WWE.
He's tough, I'll give him that. He's damn sure tough because I don't know how he's lasted as long as he has. Some of the stuff that he's done, and, the chair stuff, the flips off or the backward somersaults off the top turnbuckle onto the guardrail, not to mention the barbed wire and everything else. I mean, he's scarred up like crazy. He went down a different road than I did, but that guy is double tough, and that's for damn sure.
Yeah, I mean, the only time, and like I said, we never talked about it. The only time I've seen Sabu talk is on some of these shoot interviews that promoters will pay guys to do, and even then it's in sound bites. Again, he's not that talkative a guy, so, you get past the hi, how you doing, how was your flight, what are you going to do in your match night, whatever.
That was it.
He's not a real, you never get into how you feeling, it's not like talking to Mick. Mick will talk to you all day. You sit out at dinner and you talk to Mick for 3 hours. He'll be very honest about his aches and pains and why he does what he does and everything else. But Sabu isn't that, here, I'm going to do it. Sabu's not that type of cat.
Hey, let's shift gears on, Cat, and let's talk about Raven, Johnny Polo, Scott Levy, one of my old travel partners. Man, he was another guy.
Wait, whoa. You traveled with Raven, Scotty Flamingo, Johnny Polo, Scott Levy. You traveled in a car with him.
You did not know that?
How did you not throw him from the moving vehicle?
Because it was me and Raven and Brian Pillman. We would always get a Chevy Lumina van, and we called ourselves the Comedy Trio, plagued by bad service, because every time we went to a Denny's, an IHOP, or whatever to order some food, they would forget something, or they would neglect us. They wouldn't take our order. Something would happen, so we would always refer to ourselves as the Comedy Trio, plagued by bad service. But man, Scott is he's a very, very smart guy. And, he has that appearance that he took on in ECW. He was laying down, again, some of the best promos that were going on in that day.
Absolutely. There was never a character like Raven.
A great character.
I don't think that's really him. Because again, he is so intelligent. I don't think he had a horrible childhood where he was neglected and or abused and had this internal pain and the need to want to hurt himself, and that's why he did the things he did, because it was self-loathing. But man, he really made you believe it.
He had a great mind for the business. Just driving up and down the road with him, listening to his thoughts on angles, booking, etc. He saw the big picture and he understood the business.
And he could work. He could tell a good story in the ring. Scotty told very good stories with his wrestling. Absolutely had, and when he had a brawl with Tommy, did that as well. But all those storylines he did with the Sandman, where he stole Sandman's wife and turned his kids against him, and Sandman's 7-year-old son turned on Sandman in the ring and was dressing like Raven. All that came from the twisted mind of Scott Levy.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's great.
That's the great thing about Paul, is Paul would have ideas, or Paul would ask you for ideas and then work with you on them. There was very little in ECW that was just handed to you, like, here's your character, here's your promo.
Right.
It didn't work that way. Paul didn't do that to you. It was collaboration. Who are you going to be? Well, yeah, all right, fine. We called you Superstar Steve Austin. You were Steve. You just came in and you shot on everybody, and then you backed up in the ring. It was, everyone was pretty much an extension of who they were.
What is Raven doing these days? Is he on the independent scene? Is he still working?
I don't know how much he works because I don't see his name online. I ran into him recently at an appearance. Every once in a while I'll do these autograph appearances, as long as they don't involve getting on an airplane. So basically I'll go as far south as Philly and as far north as Boston. Other than that, I don't want to miss time with my family. So I run into him every once in a while. I don't know how much he wrestles anymore. I don't know if he's in ring shape, to be honest with you. I don't know if he's kept himself in ring shape.
Let's talk about Rob Van Dam. He had a big impact on that ECW crowd, and he was another guy, especially, when he was working with Sabu. A lot of the same skill set, a lot of the moves, the stuff that he did, very innovative and very creative, and a tough cat in his own right. And that crowd really dug RVD.
Rob is very tough, and let's put this: Rob is such an incredible athlete. He didn't play, and Rob will talk to you, which is great. Rob didn't play organized sports growing up. He figured he wanted to be a pro wrestler. He did obviously practice martial arts, as you can tell. He's wrestling the same way now in WWE as he did when he started all those years ago. He's got his signature moveset, which very few people, if any, can do. He still does all of them. Had Rob wanted to be a football player or a baseball player or a basketball player with the vertical leap he has. He could have been anything he wanted. I mean, I don't know if you ever seen him do that Van Damme lift where he does a perfect split in between two chairs and then brings, I don't know, like it's a 100-pound dumbbell up to his chest with both hands and holds it there. He's a freak. He's a flexible freak of nature. He truly, his theme song is one of a kind. He is one of a kind because nobody can do his moveset.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy. You know, he's another cat. He's laid back, but he's an intelligent guy. He's real laid back. Sometimes you won't get that out of him, but he's an interesting guy. Every now and then I'll pop up in an airport somewhere, and we'll be crossing paths and be like, hey, man, and we'll just kind of say, we'll stop, talk for 5 minutes, and go on our ways. It's not like we text each other every day of the week, but he's a good guy. I just never I think I worked with him a couple of times in WWE. I can't, maybe a time or two, but he was always entertaining for me to watch, a little bit difficult for me to work with because of the style differences, and I wanted to kind of do some things that would incorporate his moveset, but tough chemistry with a cat like that. But when him and Sabu or some of those other cats were in the ring, I really enjoyed watching those guys work. And another guy you keep referring to, and another guy that I like to watch work, was in his element, NECW, Taz.
Oh, man. And
he was over to a strong degree, and you believe that son of a buck could do whatever he wanted to whoever he wanted.
That was a perfect character. First, he was the Tasmaniac. He had the face painted. He wore the furry Tarzan singlet, which I love to throw in his face whenever I talk to him. I think I talked to him yesterday. And because at the time he figured he needed a gimmick to get into WWE. But then when Paul told him just to be Taz, and he was the first one to do the MMA gimmick, Taz was the first wrestler to make his opponents tap out before UFC was popular. And the reason was his finishing hold is that Kata Hajime. It's a shoot or a reel for non-educated wrestling fans, or if you're not a wrestling fan. It's a real hold which renders you unable to say, I quit. So his opponents had to tap. He was the first one to bring that in, and I don't know what happened, but I think Taz, when he got his big break in WWE at the Royal Rumble, he beat the undefeated Kurt Angle. I don't know what happened because it seemed like the wheels just came off his career. A match like you and Taz, if you guys actually had a program, I would have enjoyed the hell out of that because in many ways your characters were similar, except that you're Texan and he's from New York. But it was all about very realistic promos that I'm going to kick your ass. I said it, and now I'm going to kick your ass.
I think it would have been better with Taz and myself as a tag team combination on the same team. I see a lot of the similarities and things that you're talking about as well, but I think we would have worked better on the same side together because I don't think anybody's going to want to feel any sympathy for either one of us. We shot a deal where I had to shellac him in WWE one time, and I felt bad about that because I liked Taz, but business was business, and we did what we did. But, a tag team with Taz, that would have been something special. And someone else I want to throw in here before we move into some tag teams real quick, and then we'll cut this thing off, is Lance Storm, because Lance Storm was bringing a body of work that encompassed so many different styles from around the globe and true athleticism and psychology. I really thought he made a big impact in ECW, and he was one of my favorite guys to work from a match standpoint.
Lance was so polished in everything he did and had such a great physique, and, I'll put this in a politically correct way. There could have been wellness programs back when he started, and he would have passed them then. Lance Storm was always in phenomenal physical condition. He's always been, to this day, is a nut about everything he puts in his body. He is a fanatic about training. Everything he did in the ring was crisp. I recently saw him. He wrestled in the main event. Like I said, Tommy Dreamer has his own promotion, House of Hardcore. He wrestled Tommy. Lance, again, is my age. He's got to be 42 or 43. Looks the same as he did 20 years ago. Still goes to the gym hours every day, watches everything he puts in his body, drinks no alcohol, is in the ring all day rolling around, training his students. Absolutely was flawless in the ring. Never saw him have a bad match, even with bad opponents. He could shine a turd.
If you guys need he can shine a turd. Good one, Joey. If there's anybody up there in the Calgary area is looking to get into the business of professional wrestling or sports entertainment, you can follow Lance Storm on Twitter, at Lance Storm, or you can check out the Storm Academy. That's Lance Storm's wrestling school there in Calgary. Get on the internet, find him, just Google it. I don't have the exact information right here in front of me, but if you're trying to get into business, people always ask me where they should go. If you're in that neck of the woods, look up Lance Storm. You could do a hell of a lot worse. Hey,
Yeah.
Joey, you got time to talk about some tag teams?
Yeah, absolutely. But by the way, you mentioned Twitter, so I have to do the shameless plug. You can follow me at Joey Styles.
Hey, let me do that shameless plug for you. You can follow Joey Styles at Joey Styles. I'm following him, and it's a lot of fun. It's not really that much fun, but I thought I'd throw that in there for you.
I try my best. Actually, what I do on Twitter is if you follow the at WWE account, it just tweets out everything. So what I do as part of my job is I look at real-time analytics and see what the most popular stories on the site are. So I tweet out what's performing best because I know it's most popular. So I'm kind of like the filter of just the most popular stories on WWE. And one of them, of course, is when you did the interview talking about Daniel Bryan fighting the company. So thank you again for always being willing to work with us.
Hey, break this down for me, dude, because you're in digital media. I started my Twitter account a couple of years ago. I had a movie coming out, and I figured, I'm a pretty private cat. I like to do my own thing. I don't really like to get out and be in front of a bunch of cameras. So I figured at the very least, at a grassroots level, I should start this Twitter thing because I remember when Twitter first came out and I was reading about this social media, whatever, and you would send out a tweet. I'm a guy. Guys are dumb. So I'm thinking, how stupid is that? You send out a tweet. That does not sound macho enough for me to be part of. Anyway, I started my Twitter account.
I made fun of the word, and when it first started.
How long you been in now?
Since shortly after it started. I don't have nearly as many followers as you, but remember, we started promoting Twitter and WWE after I came off the air. My Twitter address has never been on TV. So any followers I have is just because I'm out there, putting out the best content from WWE and fans or, much more famous people, superstars, Hall of Famers like yourself, retweet me. So I've kind of organically built up this base, and I just tweet out the best content from WWE. It is a great way to communicate. I'm private like you are, so, Joey Styles isn't my real name. I don't use my real name. I don't tweet, hey, I'm going to be with my son at the UConn football game this weekend. Everything is done as Joey Styles, about WWE, promoting other people. So I'm personal, and I keep it that way. I don't have I don't put my real life out there to anybody. That's just the way I am.
I've enjoyed it, though, man. I've been able to stay in touch with my fan base, communicate with them. And it gives me a real good feedback on something that I have going on. If I'm talking about Redneck Island, I kind of get the word on the street through the Twitter account of, how they're feeling about things. And it's great for me. I have really enjoyed it, and I started it as a means to an end or something to promote something, but I've fallen, I don't want to say I've fallen in love with it, but I dig it, and I like hanging out with my people and, sending out tweets, answering questions, doing some retweets. It is what it is. We're here to talk about tag teams in ECW. But before we do, you can follow Joey Styles at Joey Styles. You can follow me at Steve Austin BSR. The first tag team I want to bring up is the Public Enemy. Those cats were off the chart. They had that crowd energy thing. What was that music that they came out to?
Here comes the hot stepper. Was the song.
that was, dude. When that music hit, that crowd was so into it, and then they started doing the hands thing. It was infectious.
And that was the first act he created was the Public Enemy. 2 hoodies from South Central Los Angeles.
That was Paulie's idea.
Oh yeah, which is hysterical because Johnny Grunge was from Louisiana, and
I did not know that.
Had never seen L.A. And Rocco Rock was a journeyman named Ted Petty,
yes,
who had wrestled as the Cheetah Kid, and he was doing all the lucha stuff in the States before there were any luchadors. He just wasn't making any money at it. So Paul turns them into the Public Enemy because he knows them both. Because there was no, if you were in the Northeast, there were no indies, there was no work. You had to be a Southern guy to get into WCW, and then you had to be the top guy in a territory to get picked off for WWE. So if you were in the Northeast, there really wasn't anything in the Northeast. Paul really gave us a place to work. So Paul gave them this gimmick. Most fans didn't know who they were, so they were new. The gimmick is ridiculous. Those guys couldn't be farther from 2 hoodies It was, and you're right. They came out, the music, the dancing, everything else, and Rock the Rock threw away all of his lucha stuff. Johnny Grunge was only good at brawling, and every match involved them and their opponents brawling all over the building, bleeding over each other, bleeding on the corner of Swanson and Rittner Street, bleeding more, and then dancing.
How did the thing with all the chairs flying into the ring after the match start happening? Because that seemed to be almost like a match lead ritual, correct?
Well, thank God, no. I mean, it only happened a couple of times.
Oh, okay. I thought it happened every damn time they went to the ring.
Oh, God, no. It was
so dangerous.
Public Enemy versus the Funks. And things got out of hand, and Terry Funk turns to one of the fans, and he's looking for a chair to use a weapon, and he yells, "Give me a chair!" And a fan throws a chair. So now all the fans start throwing chairs. So I think Dory just got the hell out of there. Dory's a smart one.
Yeah, old school.
Yeah, Public Enemy immediately sees what's happening, and they just lay down, face down, because they see the chairs coming, and they figure the safest place to be is face down with their hands over their head. Terry is in the corner, still standing, and you can see a chair come careening, and he's very lucky that the chair the flat of the chair hits Terry in the back of the head. Had it come in on an angle, it could have broken his neck. You see Terry take the shot and just crumble and get out of the ring. And if you keep that's the iconic moment that we show when it was on the open. What you don't see is Bob Ortiz, the ring announcer, pleading with fans to stop throwing chairs.
What was security doing while this was going on? Just sitting there with their hands in their pockets? What?
Well, I mean, if you have, 3 security guards and 2 cops, and you have 200 people throwing chairs.
Yeah, never mind. Scratch that.
Explosive
dynamic. Let's talk about Bubba Ray and Devon, the Dudley Boys. These guys had a hell of a run over there. They continued everywhere they've been, and they're continuing a good run now. Those guys, that stuff that Bubba Ray was doing, where he would stutter and he had the black horn rim glasses with the tape over the bridge of the nose, I thought that was absolutely hilarious, and I loved it. And that guy was spot on.
Well, first of all, I'm going to piss off a lot of wrestling fans right now because I'm going to express an opinion, and I believe in it. Greatest tag team of all time, the Dudley Boys. Team 3D, call them what you like. So now I'm going to get a bunch of nasty emails from Hardy Boys fans and Road Warrior fans and Midnight Express fans and Rock Roll Express fans. But you're talking about 2 guys who stayed a team for many, many, many years where other teams would split up. And they are the most decorated tag team of all time, counting all the national promotions, all the promotions they've had that have been on television, plus Japan, I believe 22-time World Tag Team Champions. But you're right. So Bubba, basically the first Dudleys weren't even Bubba and Devon. And the idea, again, we got to give credit to Raven, Scott Levy, it was based on the Hanson brothers. So it was like Dudley and Little Snot Dudley, and they were wearing tie-dyes and hockey jerseys, and they had on the glasses with no lenses in them for whatever reason, taped up.
It was great.
We even did a backstage thing where they were putting on the foil. So what happened was, as this gimmick, it got ridiculous. We had more and more people. Then we had, Native American. We called them Dances with Dudleys.
It was great. It went so far out over the edge. It was tremendous.
That used to be considered racist now. They want to change the Washington Redskins thing. You would not do that now.
But on a football note, I like the Washington Redskins name as it is. Leave it alone. End of story. Okay, the Dudley Boys, great chemistry between the main guys, Bubba Ray and Devon, and they went on to do great things. Hey, let's talk a little bit about the Eliminators, Perry Saturn and Cronus. Those guys were a badass tag team.
And phenomenal athletes. Perry, you don't want to say crazy because you don't want to play down mental illness. I think Perry had some very dangerous tendencies. I certainly wouldn't want to get into a fight with him. A former Army Ranger, and the line I used to have, and at the time it was true before he started working for WWE and WCW and flying all over the world, that he had jumped out of more airplanes than he had landed in because he was a paratrooper in the Army. And then he hooked up with John Cronus. They had both been trained by Killer Kowalski up in Boston. And Cronus weighed 275 pounds and did things like the cartwheel back handspring over the top rope to the floor that nobody, a man that size, he didn't have any business being able to do that. It was kind of gravity-defying, and then they came up with, they would be dropping elbows from scaffolds and leg drops from everywhere, and not hurting themselves or anybody else, by the way. They were very safe and very good, and then they came up with that total elimination, which gave me a chance to screech, "Total elimination!" Oh, God, that hurts. And, with that high-low spin kick thing where you have a leg sweep on the bottom, and you have the leg lariat on top, and it would cut the guy in half. And they just had some really exciting matches. They got to work against the Dudleys. They got to work against Steve Williams and Terry Bam Bam Gordy. God bless them. Man, I got to call some phenomenal tag team wrestling.
What about the gangsters, New Jack and Mustafa? That New Jack kind of took it to a different level.
Oh, there's no wrestling there, at least with New Jack. Mustafa, I didn't know that much because, again, it's a guy you never spoke more than 2 lines to. Maybe he was actually trained as a wrestler. I don't think anyone trained New Jack. I don't think he knew any holds. I think he just came to the ring and could beat the living crap out of you, decided not to unless you got on his bad side, hit you with weapons, dragged you all over the building. Again, the idea was playing the music, the Natural Born Killers, through their entire match, which certainly helped. It was like the Public Enemy thing. But there was no wrestling going on there whatsoever. Those were just brawls from the outset. There was no wrestling there. So was it a fun act to watch? Yes. Was it wrestling? No.
What do you think it was about the gangsters that people got into? Because they got over in ECW.
They're legitimately frightening.
I think you hit it right on the head. I think you believed it.
The story about New Jack is that he was a bounty hunter with I was always taught by Paul Heyman, believe half of what you see and none of what you hear.
Right.
So, and things have gotten better, but especially back in the 80s and 90s. So I heard New Jack was a bounty hunter with 4 justifiable homicides. Let's say that's exaggerated and he had 1 justifiable homicide. Let's say he had none and just cracked the guy's head open. It's a pretty serious guy. So, and the Mustafa didn't do anything but he never talked. He just had that really frightening horror movie laugh and always wore the bandana over his face, which, nice people don't do that. You know what I mean?
No, he's a big dude, looked pretty scary, and he's hanging around with New Jack, who was the militia guy, and it was intimidation, I think, and certainly powerful.
I cannot tell any New Jack stories on this show.
I know, and we're not going to go there, but let's talk about the Pit Bulls before we wrap this session up, because you got to come back on. But the Pit Bulls, Pit Bull 1, Pit Bull 2, those guys, from a visual standpoint, to me, for the tag team division, epitomized what ECW was about. Pure toughness and just relentless in their hunger to satisfy and entertain that crowd and, portray their vision of tag team wrestling.
2 tough guys from, South Jersey or Philly. Pitbull 1, Gary Wolf was first, and Pitbull 2, Anthony Durante. Gary Wolf, by the way, I saw him, I'll say a little over a year ago, and he works indies very occasionally, barely. He's got a family, he's got a real career and all that. He's pretty much got the same build. He's still in shape. He looks the same. Same hair, same build, same everything. He's taking care of himself. But, yeah, they were just 2 big weightlifters who could also, again, not the best scientific workers, but could really throw their opponents around and could take a beating. I saw Pitbull number 2 dive out of the ring on somebody, miss, land right on his head. Oh, my God! You would think he's dead. Popped right up because his neck was so thick. Just wonderful guys, though. Not like New Jack, you would be afraid of some days. You just, you didn't want to go there.
I remember when I rolled into ECW, it was a weird locker room, and all of a sudden, here I come. So I was, the odd man out, and here comes Steve Austin. Yeah, what's he going to do? And, I kind of got the Heisman stiff arm. Everybody was cool with me, but it's not like everybody wrapped their arms around me and said, hey, welcome. But I hooked up with the Pit Bulls, and I hit it off real good with those guys. So I really dug them. They were real cool to me, and I dug what they were doing in the ring. I dug what they were about.
Yep, I can tell you one New Jack story, and this sums up New Jack and why he'd be frightening. So we're sitting there, and as you know, we didn't have real production meetings in the back of the ECW arena. We just sat around a folding table, and maybe some notes were made at rest stops along the Jersey Turnpike at a Nathan's or whatever. So we're going over the show, and you remember there was a very rough-looking staircase that went upstairs where there was a shower. This young man comes booking down the steps, missing them 3 at a time. He's almost falling down the steps, running for his life. I'm like, what the hell? Who is it? What's going on? New Jack is right behind him. This New Jack gets him at the bottom of the steps and begins beating this. I mean, he was a man. He had to be, not much older. He starts beating the holy living hell out of him. And just out of instinct, because I don't want a murder to happen, I don't know what I was thinking, but I get underneath New Jack and I waist lock him. And I pick him up. I just put him over my shoulder and I pick him up. So this kid can escape because he was already bloodied. And New Jack is screaming every obscenity in the world. He is screaming, get off of me. He is pounding my back and the back of my head with forearms. And so finally the kid is gone. I put New Jack down. He goes, who the F is this? He looks me in the eye and he laughs. He goes, oh, hey, Joey. Like, just seeing the fact that I was the dummy that actually decided to keep him from killing somebody, he found funny enough to stop being angry.
Oh, man, I tell you.
This is what you're dealing with.
Yeah. Interesting guy. Good thing it was you and not just some fan that was trying to pull him off. He might have got an ass whipping on the return of that. Hey, Joey.
Yeah.
Time to ride off into the sunset, Joey. You said something earlier in the day that really caught my attention. I wonder if you could repeat that before you go on your way out. I'm talking to Joey Styles, at Joey Styles on Twitter.
God gave us one life. He gave us one body and one mind, and we each owe it to ourselves not to do anything to damage them, because it would be the equivalent of somebody giving you the gift of a new car and you go off and drive it into a wall.
Words of wisdom. We're talking about ECW, Extreme Championship Wrestling, with the voice of ECW, at Joey Styles. So after all the stuff that we talked about, words of wisdom for a cat to head down the road. Joey, I want to thank you for being on the show, and you have an open invite to come back and continue our conversation, because there's many ways and places we can go with this. Thank you for being on the show.
My pleasure. Now, I downloaded the PodcastOne app to listen to you every day. I need you to go download the WWE app so you can follow us on your phone.
I will.
All right.
Download the WWE app. Consider it done.
App. Yep, WWE app on your iPhone, on your Android device. Absolutely. It's phenomenal. It's a second screen experience during Raw and SmackDown and pay-per-views. You got to have it.
Hey, Joey.
Yeah.
I'll catch your ass down the road.
You betcha.
Hey, folks, sometimes 4 years of college and a degree still won't get you a job in today's world. Check this out. The National Academy of Sports Medicine guarantees you'll land a job within 60 days of earning your personal trainer certification. That's a job within 60 days of becoming CPT certified, guaranteed, or your money back. But you have to visit usatrainer.com today. The fitness industry is booming. There's a huge demand for certified personal trainers, and you can earn a ton of money, like six-figure money. You set your own hours. There's always work, and you're basically getting paid to stay in shape. Hey, who knows? You could even become my personal trainer. Certified personal trainers work with some of the top athletes and A-list celebs from around the world, and they're the reason I'm in the shape I am today. Visit usatrainer.com today and get started with your free 14-day sneak peek of our fast, fun, and easy online program. That's 14 days free towards your CPT certification and a potential six-figure income at usatrainer.com. I said usatrainer.com one more time, usatrainer.com. All right, I want to thank my main man, Joey Styles. It's been a pleasure talking to him about his journey through Extreme Championship Wrestling, all the happenings going on there. I hope he'll join me again on a future endeavor. And you can follow the man at Joey Styles on Twitter. But we ain't done yet. I want to say thank you to everybody for supporting the Steve Austin Show by doing your shopping through Amazon. Every time you click on that Amazon banner on the Steve Austin Show page at PodcastOne.com or the SteveAustinShow.com and clicking on that Amazon banner, the show gets a little kickback that lets us keep doing this on the air for you for free. And now that I've mentioned that, I want to talk about my favorite Amazon product of the week. You know I think everyone should carry a good screwdriver and a good pocket knife as well. So I've been looking at the SOG knives on Amazon, and these knives are some badass knives. They're used by the Navy SEALs and other special forces. They're built to last, they're built strong, and I'm working on convincing my producer, Stacy, to carry a SOG knife too. Check it out on my Amazon page. Click on the Amazon banner on the Steve Austin Show page at PodcastOne.com, type SOG knife, and pick the one that best fits your needs. They got knives for hunting, they got knives for fishing, and just everyday pocket knives for you, the working man and the working woman. And hey, you got questions? I got answers. Tweet me at Steve Austin BSR or email me questions@steveaustinshow.com. And if you find something you dig on Amazon, let me know. I may mention it on the next Steve Austin Show. So thanks for supporting the show. Thanks for listening. Thanks for clicking on that Amazon banner so I can keep doing this for you, the working man, the working woman, for free. Until next time, my name is Steve Austin, and hey, I'll catch your ass down the road.